today we're moving and meditating, and I would ask you to take it as usual to the stage where you're feeling still comfortable with it. Also, my topic is to focus a bit on the fears that we're holding at the moment. And we will begin with a mudra. So some of you know I really enjoy my mudras. So Gupta Mudra is the one we're practicing today. And I thought before I ask you to lie down, I will demonstrate. So we will fold all of the fingers or interlace them inwards so that we're bringing the fingers around the unusual way, making sure that your right hand has the upper, and then draw them in like so, and then crossing the thumbs over. So you're drawing kind of your hands back together and the thumb crosses over the top, if that makes any sense at all. So that mudra I would like you to have, and if you're struggling, you can hold it like myself, as you're lying down onto your back. We won't be here for too long, but I'd love you to interlace the fingers inwards, fold the hands towards each other, and cross the right thumb over the left, and then let that rest quite heavily on top of your tummy. So as if you are drawing that inwards and downwards. You can have your feet a little bit further apart and the knees falling in, but you could also allow your legs to come out long. If you're very tired this morning, I recommend to keep the eyes open and just find a steady gaze point. If you prefer, you can close the eyes and steady the gaze, maybe towards the third eye point. As usual, when we come into a mudra, I invite you to just feel this mudra, to allow yourself to feel the energy shift that mudra might bring about. It is there to help us in a particular way against fear. It's said to be a gesture of inner secret for protection from our limiting beliefs. Now, what does that have to do with fear? Our mind is telling us a lot of things, and oftentimes they're uninformed or an ill belief of what this life is really about. And that then in return creates fear. In Sanskrit, we call this fear abhinivesha. Obviously, given how prevalent fear is in its forms of maybe also just worries in our modern life, fear resulting from stress, and how powerful this fear can impact us. Understanding this simple but significant fact can make a transformative influence even in our daily existence. However, that's not necessarily an easy thing. Patanjali tells us that fear exists even in the wise. That is, knowledge and learning are by no means proof against this influence. By better understanding the reason behind our difficulties, we can put ourselves in a better position to overcome and to transcend this powerful obstacle of fear. So our fears are often linked to ignorance, and that can start in very simple ways and forms. While you might keep the mudra just for a little bit longer. Begin to just roll your head to one side while you're inhaling. And bring it to the center while you're exhaling. On the inhale, rolling the head to the other side. On the exhale, bringing it back to center. And then repeat that once more to each side, just rolling the head to the side and then centering it again and to the other side and centering it again. As you allow your arms to open, as you release the mudra, allowing yourself to step your feet onto the ground, to take your right knee into the chest and give it a good hug and squeeze. You might choose to slide the left leg out long, and with an out breath, lifting your nose up towards the knee, and there's an option of lifting the extended leg off the floor. Then releasing your body back down. Take your hand onto the right knee now. Left hand onto the hip, and as you breathe in, open your right knee out towards the right side. And then change hands as you breathe out to bring the knee in for a twist. Now we'll repeat that. So while you're inhaling, right hand to the knee, arm and knee opening to opposite sides. Then changing the hand over for the out breath, other arm opens and we're coming into a twist. We'll do that just once more, changing the hands as we inhale to open the bent knee, the arm out. And exhaling as we're crossing over. So you allow yourself to bring the right foot back onto the ground and to hug your left knee into the chest. There's the opportunity to extend the right leg out long. So squeeze the left knee in. On the next out breath, lifting your nose up towards the knee and maybe the right leg coming off the floor. And then releasing the upper body back down. Left hand on the knee. As we breathe in, open the knee out, open the arms out. And when you're breathing out, changing the hands over, coming into a twist, the other arm opening up. We'll repeat the movement twice more. So on the in-breath, we're opening. On the out breath, we're going into a twist. Do that one more time. Breathe in, hand on knee to open. On the out breath, coming across. I invite you then to step the foot back onto the ground, to let the other foot do the same, and to tippy-toe your feet up towards your buttocks, allowing the heels to land. So we're preparing ourselves for a bridge movement while the feet are at hip distance, the arms down by the sides. We're taking the next inhale to squeeze the buttocks muscles and lift the hips up. And we're breathing out to roll back down onto the ground. With the next inhale, might you bring both arms in, lifting both arms over the head as you're squeezing the hips up. And then rolling back down and the arms returning back down by the sides. Repeat that for 3 more and find your own pace. Moving both arms over the head on the inhale while you're lifting the hips, and when you're rolling down, releasing the arms by the sides. 2 more. Now, as you're resting your body back down, let your legs extend out long, but take the legs out wide, pointing your toes up towards the ceiling, so the ankles in flexion. And we're coming back into Gupta Mudra, where you're interlacing from the backs of your hands, folding in and crossing the thumb and resting that back down onto your tummy. We'll inhale through the nose now. And with the breath out of the mouth, we will lift the upper body, and we're trying to look towards the mudra, the space between the feet. On the inhale, lie back down. Breath out of your mouth. Lifting upwards. Inhale, lying back. You can take this further if you happen, or to be able to sit yourself up, you can do so. If we're trying to leave the legs on the ground, on the inhale, we're coming back. On the exhale, maybe lifting, maybe sitting up. Go for another round. And then if you haven't been sitting up quite yet, please come up into a seated position. You can release the mudra, and we will turn ourselves over into a seated shape or an easy pose. If you would like to pop something underneath the buttocks, that might be a nice idea. I've just placed a block there, but a cushion will do as well. Let us rest the hands down for a moment. Even letting the hands drop down by the sides of the body, allowing your shoulders to become really heavy. And we might encourage that heaviness by breathing in and pulling the shoulders up to the ears. And we're taking another sip of air into the body. And then we're having a sigh out, and we'll just drop the shoulders all the way down. So if that's possible, have the hands resting by the sides of your hips. There's no support for your arms. We'll do that a couple more times. On the in-breath, drawing the shoulders up to the ears, taking another sip of air in, a sigh to drop them. One more round, taking a breath in, lifting, sip up more air, and then release that down. Maybe you would like to close the eyes briefly as you let your right ear come to the right shoulder, leaving both shoulders really heavy. We will turn the head ever so slightly, so we're looking a little bit downwards, changing the stretch somewhere slightly behind the neck. And then we'll roll the head down. And we deliberately bring the chin in towards the throat, keeping our shoulders relaxed down towards the ground, and a sense of lifting up through the back of the neck. Then neutralize your head's position. On the next out breath, let your left ear drop to the left shoulder. Really thinking about the shoulders being drawn down towards the floor. And a slight turn of the head to move the stretch backwards within the neck, a slight look downward. We will change from here as we push the chin forward and lift it up towards the ceiling. Might even open your eyes. And then bring the head back into neutral. On your next in-breath, let your left arm reach out and up. On the out-breath, bending over towards the side. Making sure that my sit bones are deeply grounded onto the floor. The arm reaching across. Inhale here. And as you exhale, roll your arm and shoulder down. Place the hands on either side of the knee. Take an inhale to lengthen your back. And breathe out to surrender over this knee. Then curl yourself back up to a seated shape. Let your hands drop back down by the sides. Now you will lift your right arm up to the ceiling on the next in-breath. Ignoring me, right arm up. And as you're breathing out, bending across to the side. Finding your sit bones anchored to your support. And we will roll the upper arm and shoulder inwards and down, leaning or placing the hands on either side of the knee, lengthening through the spine as we inhale, and then folding over the knee on the exhale. We will curl ourselves back up into a seat. And if you've got a support underneath, I suggest to remove it, to place your feet down in front of you and to bring your hands or the fists down behind you, going into an upward facing tabletop if that suits. If you struggle with that for whatever reason, you could move back into a bridge. So let's squeeze the hips up and look down towards the knees, or lift the chin up and guide the head backwards. See if you can stay here 2 more breaths. And then slowly releasing your hips back down towards the ground and changing the cross of your legs. We will interlace the hands again from the back, coming back to Gupta Mudra as we cross the right thumb over the top, squeezing into the fingers and holding that in front of our tummies. I invite you to close the eyes for a little while and to begin a deeper and fuller breath. I invite you to breathe into the belly, up to the ribs, to the collarbones. And when you think you can't fit more air in, then take in another sip. And then breathe out very slowly. Breathing in from our belly to the ribs, to the collarbones. Taking an extra sip of air. And we're breathing out as slowly as we can master from belly to ribs to collarbones. I'm inviting you to have 3 more of those breaths. So after the inhalation is finished, sip up a bit more air and then breathe out as slowly as you possibly can. When you have completed your breath, we will release the mudra, swing our feet across to the side, and find our way up into a standing position. So from our stands, we will basically stand in a mountain pose. You can have your feet touching, you can have your feet apart. The palms of the hands now spread out and open. So we're activating right down into the arms. With the in-breath, lifting the left arm up. And with the out-breath, leaning across to the side. While we might hold that here, reach out with your lower arm a little bit too, and see if you can lift the left toes off the ground. These are now options for you to choose or not to choose. Landing the foot back down as you're lifting up tall, and an out breath as you lower the left arm again. Just a reminder, I'm not moving the other arm, but you will as we inhale to extend the right arm to the ceiling. And on the out breath, bending to the side. Allowing the lower arm to extend a little bit further. And then maybe to shift the weight as you're pointing your right toes away. We will land our foot again, reach the arm back up towards the ceiling. And we'll breathe out to release the arms and return again into an active mountain shape. We will change this a little bit. So while you're inhaling, lifting the left arm again. On the exhale, bending to the side. Allowing the lower arm to reach. While we might peel the left foot off the ground. From this side bend, let your foot come in for a tree. And if you like, you can pull this foot up all the way towards the inner thigh. Bringing both hands now to touch in front of the chest. As we find our taller stance, let's come back into our mudra as we fold the fingers inwards and taking it right down in front of our tummy. We're taking a deep breath in here. Sipping up a little bit more air. And then as we're breathing out, step the foot out wide and come into goddess stance. Keeping the body tall, the mudra is still strong. While we're inhaling, extending both arms up, keep the mudra, extend both of your legs. And then as you're breathing out, pull the mudra back down in front of the tummy and bend your knees again. We'll repeat that twice more on the inhale, extending the legs, the arms, and then pull back in on the out breath. One more round, inhale, arms can go all the way over the head, and a breath out as we pull in to pause. While we are holding here, there's an option now to lift just the left heel off the ground. Then join in with the right. Both heels off the floor. Lower the heels down, release the mudra as you take a big breath in, both arms lifting up, we're stepping the feet back together. And on the out breath, returning into a mountain pose. Allowing yourself a deep breath in, another sip of air, and a slow, long exhalation. On the next in-breath, lifting the right arm up to the ceiling. On the out-breath, bending over to the side. Extending the lower arm a little bit more. Maybe pointing the foot away. We will change from here as we release this shape into a tree. The tree can have the foot much lower than I'm placing mine right now. And when you feel more or less balanced, you can bring the hands together in front of the chest. Before we bring our fingers back into Gupta Mudra, drawing that mudra in front of our tummies. We will step the foot out towards the side and sink back into our goddess stance. And repeat the arm movement as we're extending the legs, the arms extending up to the ceiling, keeping your mudra. And with the out breath, pulling back down in front of the tummy. On the inhale, extending up, straight legs. Pull down on a breath out, bend your knees. Last round here, inhaling. And exhale to hold. We'll only lift the right heel on this side. And then at the left. So both heels again lifted off the ground. Now when we do land them, we're turning the heels outwards a little. So we've got the outer edges of the feet parallel. We will release the mudra and take the arms out wide on an in-breath. And then folding forward on the out-breath. I leave it up to you where you want to place your hands. They could rest on a block or support of some sort. They could rest down onto the floor. You could take a grip of your big toes instead if you're feeling quite mobile. The elbows could point out to the sides in that case. And if your hands are down on the floor, let your elbows point backwards. I recommend to lower the head so that the crown of the head is facing the ceiling. The weight slightly forward within your feet. You can have a light bend in the knees if that helps you. And bringing most of your awareness now to the out breath. Just feeling the ground that you have underneath your feet. Maybe a sense of heaviness in the legs. And gently encourage now on the out breath your core muscles as you draw the lower abdomen in and down towards your tailbone to help release the upper body more. But let the core relax on the inhale and reactivate it again on the exhale. As the upper body relaxes down more completely, we're creating space in our legs, broadening the sacral area, releasing tension in the upper body. And you might find a slight relaxation response expressed through the breath. Let us bring a change to this shape as we come up onto the fingertips, hands releasing. We'll turn the right foot out and we'll walk our hands over to the right foot. You could also turn your left heel out a little. We'll unfold this into Trikhanasana. So while you're breathing in, let your left arm extend upwards, unfolding the body into the triangle. Creating a little bit more length over your side. As we add 3 rounds of movement. With the inhale, bend your knees, swing your arm back and down. With the out breath, encourage the feet into the floor and extend. Do 2 more, breathe in, bend to swing. Breathe out, use the floor and extend. 1 last round. To release from this shape, bring a bend into the right knee. Lift your arms back out. Turn your feet back forward. Interlace the hands again for Gupta Mudra. I will ask you to take an inhale and just pull this mudra a little bit apart while keeping the interlace. And as you're breathing out, tilting back towards the right. Keep the pull on your fingers. On the inhale, center again. On the exhale, lean a little bit to the left. While you inhale, center again and let the arms open back out. On the exhale, fold back down towards the floor. Releasing your head down, letting the hands soften. We will turn our left foot and we'll take our hands towards the inside of the left foot, while the right heel might be turned out a little bit as well. On the inhale now, let your right arm extend up towards the ceiling. Establish yourself well in the stance of your feet, in the strength of the legs, the sideways. We'll come back into movement. While you're breathing out, swing the arm back and down as you bend both of your knees. And then unfold again, arm reaching back up to the ceiling. We'll do 2 more as we bend and take a swing. Lifting and opening the body. And let's do that again. Swing back and down. And open again into the triangle. We'll bring a bend now into the left knee, reaching ourselves back up to stand and releasing the arms down by the sides of the body. We might heel and toe our feet in together. I will take you now from the top of the mat down towards the floor. So while we're breathing in, like in the sun salutation, reaching both arms up. On the out breath, folding forward. On the inhale, come to a half lift. On the out breath now, step it back, maybe to a kneeling, maybe to a full plank. I'd love you to pause here for a moment to create a bit of space in between your shoulder blades, to draw the lower abdomen in as if you were to encourage your tailbone towards your heels, feeling the whole body engaging. And then as you're breathing out, bending the elbows along the side of the body and releasing the whole body down onto the ground. Letting your legs come out a little bit wider than we usually have them. And lifting up through the upper body and your hands. If you feel you want to do a little bit more, you could place your fingertips down behind the head. Otherwise, just hands floating off the ground. And while you're breathing out, squeeze down into the right side, looking over towards the foot. And on the inhale, come to center. And on the exhale, look to the other side. Now, I will invite you to repeat that same movement twice more to each side. Once you have completed, relax the body down towards the mat. Draw your feet a little bit closer in and together. And let your arms extend out to either side. I'm asking you to just swing your left leg across and over to the right. As you're leaning towards the right shoulder, you could slide your left hand in, even make a fist and place that underneath the head. Allowing a deep opening into the right shoulder. Left foot just stepped across, the knee open. And then we will roll down onto the front of the body, extending the left arm again as we swing the right foot across. You could slide your right hand in, make a fist and place that underneath the head. And just allowing ourselves to lean over towards the left shoulder, creating a bit more space here. We won't go far from here. I will ask you to come back a little bit and then take yourself all the way down onto your back. Now, if what I suggest as a play with an inversion today feels too strong and you've got a wall nearby, you might as well shuffle the side of your hip to the wall and just place the legs up the wall. Allow the body to relax. My suggestion here to potentially come back to Gupta Mudra and rest that in front of the tummy. These are just options for a pose of tranquility that I suggest. Otherwise, you might want to check in with yourself about the shoulders and the neck. Only if these are feeling good, could you lift your hips up. Support for now, as you might extend your legs over the body. If this is enough for your morning body, please stay. Otherwise, releasing one hand after the other towards your shins and aiming to find the balance there. If you're just managing one hand like myself, you might after a while try the other. This could be a balancing act, just finding your balance here, both hands resting against the shins. If you are in this place right now, stay for a couple more breaths. If you've got your legs up the wall, stay there as well. And we will then very, very slowly release ourselves back down onto our backs. If your legs are up the wall, roll to the side. Otherwise, support your spine as you're curling back down onto your back. Now, 2 variations for us to complete this physical aspect, and I will use a block. You could also use a rolled up cushion or blanket, as I invite you to place something lengthwise over the mat. If you don't have anything handy, you might as well just walk your arms underneath for a fish pose. So that's what this is about. opening through the chest and letting the head drop backwards. Unless that doesn't feel good, then support the head here. So if you don't have a support like myself right now, your hands would be underneath, your chest lifted, and the head might be back as well. Or you could keep your gaze forward at your toes. Allowing 2 more breaths. Daring to open yourself up for all that is to come. Fearless and strong. When you have completed your breath, either place the back of the head back down. If you're in the fish, if you're in the supported fish, you might slide the hands under, lift yourself up, and then recline the body down onto the back. If you feel really ready for Shavasana at this stage, let your legs slide out long or bring the knees together. And if you feel there's another movement that might be beneficial, allow that movement. I just noticed I wanted my knees in the chest, maybe a bit of rocking, or you might end up with a twist there. Before you release down into Shavasana, make sure that you're really comfortable. You could place a bolster or a leg underneath your knees. You can rest your head onto a pillow. You can snuggle up underneath a blanket, just finding your way into comfort. And the same here, if you think you will easily fall asleep, keep the eyes open, just gaze steadily towards a point on the ceiling. If you feel that's not the option, then you can close the eyes. As you allow a moment of rest, finding yourself back in stillness. We know fear manifests physically, often before we notice it emotionally. As Patanjali observed, disrupted breath, weakness, muscular tension, and restlessness are all symptoms of fear. By learning to watch for these physical signs, you can often identify fear in its initial stages, before it becomes fully active and before we fall into the poor choices it can induce. In turn, helping us avoid many of the repercussions. Further, we also know the mind-body link goes both directions. That is, we can use conscious control of breath and body to shift the tendencies of the mind. Again, this powerful tool, especially when we know our problem-solving skills are in a compromised state, a result of our fear. We may not be thinking clearly enough to solve the situation, but we can work with the body in order to reduce the fear by slowly stilling our restlessness and consciously directing the breath. can gradually allow the mind to return to a less fearful state. In turn, allowing ourselves to regain the mental composure required to address the situation constructively. In this way, we can gently take charge of the situation and mindfully return to our natural state of peace, serenity, and security. As I invite you to start deepening your breath, to bring back a little bit of movement or even a lot. Only to take yourself into a seated position. I would love to leave you feeling a rather light, confident, and joyful. So instead of finishing right here, I invite you to stand back up. To stand on both of your feet. And if you are choosing to do this practice at a later stage, you might not want to activate yourselves at the time that you are practicing. So you might leave here at this stage. For the rest of us, we will take a breath in, lifting the arms out in front. Another sip of air to open the arms. Another one to lift them both up, and then a big breath out. So we'll do that a couple more times. Breath in, arms in front. Breath in, arms out to the side. Inhale, arms up to the ceiling, and let's go for one more. Inhale, arms to the front, arms to the side, arms up, and as we allow ourselves now to stand firmly in a mountain shape, nothing can shake us today as we touch the palms of our hands together. Might allow a light softening of the knees and a gentle bow of the head as we acknowledge each other in our fearlessness. Namaste.